This meeting is being recorded.
All right, so perfect. Yeah, so Christopher is a plumber, but he did not neglect one thing for the other. So I'm just going to ask you, Christopher, why did you not ditch the biosciences? Because there was, like everybody is saying, there's no job, there's nothing. You had a side hustle in plumbing. Why did you continue? How did you decide, and how did you manage to decide that there was a difference between making money and building your professional portfolio? Because when I read it, it was until Thursday when we spoke that you literally reminded me that you're actually a plumber. Because when I read your profile, when we were doing the Africa Comp application, I thought, I didn't know anything about that. I just read your profile and I'm like, wow, you have so much experience. So how were you able to juggle the two of them, not neglect one over the other? What were the things that you did? Because people need to hear. People don't think that it's possible for you to be able to have your side hustle and still build your professional degree in biology. Please help us.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good
Mommy,
evening,
say her
Dr.
son.
Yetunde. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, loud and clear.
We can hear you, Christopher.
Okay. So first of all, I
Please,
want to
if
say
you are
very
not
big.
speaking, can you mute your mic? If you are not speaking, please mute your mic so that Christopher can speak. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to first of all say a very big thank you to Spain Bio for giving me the opportunity to share my story. So like Dr. Yetunde rightly said, I'm a plumber and I'm a bioinformatician as well. So I learned plumbing during my undergraduate days. So it's what has been keeping me going. Okay, so during my undergraduate days, I didn't make use of the opportunities I had in biology, or let me say, I wasn't aware of the opportunities that were in biology. So I was only concerned about making a first class. So apart from the academic side, there was no practical, there was nothing. So but when I got to the University of Ibadan for my master's degree in cell biology and genetics, things changed when I was assigned to be supervised by Dr. Fumilayo Afolayo, who is a bioinformatician. And then she introduced me to bioinformatics. And I now began to see the advantages. And she told me specifically that if you take bioinformatics serious, it's going to change your story. So she introduced us to those of us that were under her and were doing bioinformatics to different bioinformatics training, particularly Jaris Computational Biology Center in Jos. So they were doing series of workshops. So I keyed into it. And then apart from Jaris Computational Biology Center, because Jaris Computational Biology Center does drug discovery, research, and then training. So I was also able to look out for free bioinformatics trainings online, like with HardBio, with Helix Biogen Institute in Ogbomoso, and then recently with Noble Tree Max Research Institute. So aside from the bioinformatics that I learned, because I really wanted to stay relevant in biology and not just doing my plumbing. Apart from bioinformatics, I also wanted to, maybe after my program in UI, learn some molecular biology techniques. So I've already highlighted the places where I will go: 54G in Kaba Biotech, and then SG in Redeemers University. So luckily for me, there was a molecular biology quiz in the department, and then I participated in the quiz and I was lucky to win. So I went for a molecular biology training at Ikaba, where I was able to learn PCR, DNA extraction, gel electrophoresis, and other key molecular biology techniques. So I was able to balance off the in silico research that I was doing and then the lab skills. So when we finished the training at Jaris Computational Biology Center, we were asked to choose research group because Jaris is a research center. So for those of us that were interested in volunteering, we were asked to choose research group. So there was cancer research group, there was malaria, there was diabetes and COVID. So I chose the malaria research group. So so far so good. We've been able to use bioinformatic tools to identify plant compounds that can inhibit malaria targets. And then we have been able to publish some papers with that particular research too. And then when I came back to UI, together with other bioinformaticians from other departments, we were able to form a bioinformatics community in UI. And then we named it the Great Mind Research Team. And we have been able to carry out some research as well. And then earlier this year, together with my friend Shola, we formed a bioinformatics group within the Department of Zoology. And this time, it was not just carrying out research. I also wanted to mentor other people. I also wanted to train. I also wanted to teach other people these bioinformatics skills. So currently, we are carrying out two research, two in silico research, and then one is on elucidating the molecular mechanism of Cocoma longa, that is turmeric, in treating breast cancer. And very soon the manuscript will be ready. And then we're also carrying out the second one. Also,
Wow. Anyways, but you guys,
prostate cancer.
okay, great. I think we lost you for a second, but I mean,
So
that's
I'm
blowing
really
my
enjoying
mind
it.
for
And I'm
someone
able to
who,
combine it together with my plot.
no, the network, I think the network is cutting in and out. But I'm going to summarize for you is that what I'm going to say from Christopher's story is that it's really interesting that he was a plumber, but he still managed to be able to decide that this was more relevant to him than his plumbing degree. I mean, why should you give up on your degree when you have spent so much time, so much money, so much effort in trying to build it up? So for me, that was very fascinating to me. If Christopher as a plumber could still, did you see all the things that he was like highlighting? They did this, they did that, they trained this, they trained that. Now they are writing two papers. Now they are trying to use their bioinformatics to cure breast cancer, and that came as a result of him as well plugging himself into the right community, getting a master's degree where it was relevant, where it mattered, where he did it with a mentor that was able to show him the way. That his mentor said, and I quote, that if you do bioinformatics, it will change the trajectory of your career. And literally, that is what happened. And you will still hear when he's talking about how his Africa Comp journey went briefly, that was literally what broke the ice for him and probably what even eventually got him hired. So we're going to go ahead and move on to staying by because we want to keep this going, right? The reason that we're highlighting you is we want to highlight your success story. So, and we want you to be able to share with people honestly what Stay in Bio did for you. So, Daniel, I'm going to start with you. How did you hear about Stay in Bio? Why did you join? Where were you at that point in your life? What did Stay in Bio do for you? And how has that led you to where you are today?
Hi, hello, Yetunde. Hi, everyone. I got to know about Stay in Bio from my fiance. I think she had joined, and she was trying to get research experience so that she could better place herself for PhD applications. So I know she reached out to Mrs. Seyi, who and you on where she could get to do internship or just get to learn during the COVID pandemic. And I know she was linked up with Dr. Chika in Naima. And so when she told me about how Dr. Yetunde and Mrs. Seyi had like linked her up, I was like, oh, let me come attend the event. Then I think we're having a US, UK, Asia series around applications. So I was like, let me come attend. I wasn't even attending because of the event. I just wanted to attend to see the people who had helped her. And in a way, just say thank you and then we move on. But coming to attend and hearing, I think I heard Aaron, I heard a good amount of people share their stories from Australia to the UK and the US. I heard Dr. Issa and some other people share their stories. I can't remember who, there was a lady in Bowling Green University who came in for an MSc and then went into a PhD straight up without even finishing the MSc. So for me, that was like, it was interesting to hear, but I wasn't still decisive on if I wanted to continue. Then I know Dr. Yetunde told us to send in our SOPs, our personal statement to read. And I remember like getting the feedback and like seeing the things I needed to change, like especially repetitions of ideas, of thoughts. And I was like, it was kind of like a shocker and a humbler, because I was like, I know English, I know how to arrange English. Why do I have like, then I read it again and I saw that, oh, I was saying the same thing. Like Dr. G was like, I was saying the same thing over and over again in like, and I was dwelling on places I should not dwell on. And I remember saying, okay, let me give this a try to effect those corrections and see where it goes from here. And I remember effectively sending it back to Dr. Yetunde. She sent it back again, kept correcting. And at some point, I remember Dr. Yetunde saying, let's just meet on a Zoom call and do a live correction. Like, let's just be correcting it live, like while we're seeing ourselves and like discussing this. And so by the time you were done correcting and effected the corrections, I then read through and saw how not just that it flowed, but it made a lot of sense. It highlighted the parts that were meant to be highlighted, it spotlighted places that should be spotlighted, and it gave this proper look of this person had gone through these experiences, this person is passionate about doing this research. And for me, that was a big thing. And I remember Dr. Yetunde saying that, oh, based on this, that she's very sure there was very high chance of not just even getting into schools, but getting interviews. Because previously I applied in 2019 and 2020, I believe, yes. And I had gotten rejections, I had gotten waitlisted, and I was constantly trying to figure out what really was the issue, what really was the problem around that. And I remember not just even the corrections that the Yetunde gave, she also reminded me about like the importance of not just looking at the prestige of a school, but also looking at the department itself. Like, there are people who might not be in a Harvard, but they have better funding than people who are in a Harvard because of the kind of research they are doing. So to look out for those kind of people rather than to look at the school first, look at the research. And I remember asking a friend who was in the University of Pennsylvania to share the link for me, this NIH reporter, where I could track what various researchers all over the world were doing in terms of funding in areas I wanted to work in. And so I could see lecturers in other departments, like in other schools, University of Pittsburgh, Albany, and others. And so it helped me zero in on that, okay, rather than going for schools that were out there like, oh, a Harvard, a Stanford, a Duke or something, I could look at schools that might not be a Harvard, but they had like very good faculty members who were doing good research. And that added to like taking corrections and effecting those corrections. I think it changed everything. Because I remember telling Dr. Yetunde that my experience didn't change from maybe the time that I took on those experiences increased, but they didn't change in terms of content from 2020 to 2021. But it was just seeing it in a different way, presenting it in a different way. And I remember even after sending an application, a faculty member literally reached out to me. He was not even supposed to be in that department, but I don't know how he got it. He reached out to me. I was like, oh, he saw my application and asked me, oh, why was I moving from the industry to academia? That it seemed like I've had the best of both worlds. And I had to like explain it out to them, which was something that had not happened. Even emails I was sending to professors, I was getting good responses. And it helped even strengthen, oh, that, okay, there's something that's changed in terms of this application, something has changed in terms of the approach. And that helped a lot.
Yes, like, so I remember reading, like I said, I remember reading from Christopher, and my mind was really blown. I have a PhD degree, so one thing, honestly speaking, that a PhD does for you is it helps you to communicate a lot better. So immediately I read his statement of purpose, I saw the redundancies there. And I've also trained a lot of undergraduate students over here. So I knew that putting a typical American who had studied here side by side with Daniel, I knew that Daniel would ace them, and maybe the problem was just the way that he was arranging it and the kind of applications he was putting out. I remember we had that conversation about Emory University, where I said, do you know the reason why people are applying to Emory? The people that are applying to Emory want to go to CDC. So you remember that conversation. So the acceptance criteria is very high. You have to humble yourself sometimes when it comes to your application, and you throw in, because you're from Nigeria, there are people from all over the world. So let's dial it down a little. Let's think about it differently. And literally, that made the difference for Daniel. We're going to hear from Christopher now as well, because Daniel, before he came, see, Christopher suffered 2 rejection cycles. We're going to talk about that as well. But I want to hear from Christopher. How did you hear from Staying By You? Very briefly, so that we can get on with what we're here today. How did you hear about Staying By You? Why did you join? What changed? What had you been suffering before? I know, contrary to Daniel, you hadn't suffered a lot of rejections. So what was your Staying By You magic moment? What did Staying By You do for you in reality? I have lost Christopher again from my screen. Anyway, from here.
I'm back.
Okay.
My network is failing.
Okay.
I'm back, ma.
I can hear you. You can go ahead.
Okay, I didn't hear what you asked.
I was saying that what's your Staying By Your story, basically?
Okay, so thank you once again. So I heard about Staying By You from my friend Shola Akongi. He saw a Facebook advert about the webinar series of graduate applications, and then he decided to share the link with me. So I signed up for it. Now, prior to Staying By You, prior to those webinar series that we had, I felt that the only graduate scholarships that existed there were the MEC scholarship in Japan, the DART scholarship in Germany, the Commonwealth scholarship, the Chemistry scholarship. I never knew it was easy for. I didn't even know that there were scholarships in United States and Canada as at the time. So when I attended the webinar series, there were people that came to talk to us about opportunities in Australia, scholarship opportunities in the US and in the UK as well. So immediately I was intrigued about going to the US for my PhD. And then after the webinar series, I think we had another meeting with Dr. Yetunde, and she gave us a checklist that if I can have this, then I should stand a chance of getting into graduate school in the US. So I knew that I needed to have a GRE result, I needed to have my passport, and I needed to have attended conferences, I needed to have publications and all to stand me a chance of getting into graduate school. So I wrote out the list, and then I'll be checking them one by one. And then another thing that really helped me was that we were given an exercise to search for 15 schools in the US and then their requirements. So we were able to get those schools, and then it was a very enriching experience for me, because I now knew that, oh, it is even possible that I can apply to these 15 schools and stand a chance of getting into graduate school in the US. And then it wasn't just me alone. I think we were about 11. And then at the end of the day, we had a pool of more than 100 schools. And then we even had universities where you could apply without a TOEFL and the GRE. So I started working on it already. So earlier this year, I applied for my passport, and I was already preparing for the GRE exam. When Dr. Yetunde dropped the Africa Comp link on the Instagram page of Staying By You. So I came into it, I applied, and then we also had a Staying By You training. And then I remember Dr. Yetunde and she going through my applications like 5 times and making corrections. So my application scaled through, and then I went for the interview. And what was the icebreaker for me, like Dr. Yetunde said, was the fact that the person that was interviewing me from Boringa Ingo High was also a bioinformatician. And I wasn't asked questions like, tell me about yourself, what are your strengths, and all of those common interview questions. The first question he asked me was, tell me about your bioinformatics journey. And we discussed bioinformatics, and that was how the interview ended. So Staying By You has really been impactful. Staying By You has really been helpful to my career journey. I wouldn't have been here if not for Staying By You. As a matter of fact, I didn't hear about Africa Comps before Staying By You, and maybe I wouldn't have heard about it. So Staying By You has really been helpful.
Wow, thank you so much, Christopher. You know, one thing that I'm going to repeat what I said earlier about Christopher's journey is that he prepared himself for the opportunities that he eventually got. Imagine that you hadn't even done your passport when the Africa Comp you probably won't consider it because you didn't have some of the requirements, you know. But one thing that I love about your journey is, first of all, you kept on preparing yourself for the opportunity that you desire. Another thing that I see that you did was to read up and find the requirements for the place you wanted to be, you know, and you started to make it happen even before the time came. And that's very remarkable. Incidentally, the person who introduced us to Africa Compt is here, and his name is Christian Adabo. He's one of my own mentors and you know, very good friends. And look at what has happened today, you know. So everybody, one thing that you must pick from Christopher's journey, if you heard him the first time, the reason that he even started to learn plumbing, he didn't know about the opportunities in bio. So, but he found something to learn. And that's, you can imagine how that is even making a way for him right now. And after that, when he saw the things that he could do in bio, he kept on learning. That's something that is very consistent with your journey, Christopher, is that you kept on learning, you know, kept on learning at different stages, kept on being innovative, because that's what a biological scientist is about. That's what who a scientist is. You know, you formed groups. I heard you talk about forming a group of informaticians, forming a group of this, forming a group of that, you know, and those are the things that and these are the things that Stay in Bio preaches. And these are the things that we expect you to do. And these are the things that make the opportunities, when they come around, they will find you worthy, basically, because you are prepared for those kind of things. And that's an amazing story, Christopher. I remember your application for Africa Compt. I remember how many times you went through it. And I mean, you put in the work and this is the result. So yeah, thank you so much. Yetunde, do you want to add anything?
No, like honestly, you said it all. And that's the other thing that I just want to highlight is that we have a list of over 500 people, a mailing list of over 500 people. But when we send out those emails, only a handful pick up those, you know, those opportunities and actually follow through. So I'm just saying, you know, I'm just like, why have 500 of you not clicking on the link? Because it's the same way Christopher clicked on that link. He wasn't expecting it. He didn't prepare. Christopher, correct me if I'm wrong, when you entered January 1st, 2022, was Jamie on your mind? I don't think Jamie was on Christopher's mind. I think he's frozen on my own.
Exactly.
Jamie was not on his own mind, but we, based on experiences, based on Seyi, based on all the things that we've learned, there's one opportunity somewhere, Stay in Bio will benefit. Chop, 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 let's send the email, let's help people, because we've also learned that even when you have the opportunity, some of you don't do well at all with putting your application together. So we wanted to make sure that, okay, if anybody is actually going to go out of Stay in Bio, you know, they actually have a chance so that they will not be disappointed. So that's why we painstakingly took time to be able to help Daniel, to be able to help Christopher. And now Christopher is going to Boringa Ingo, and you can never take that away from him. You can never take that away from his profile. He's never going back to the way that he was before. Plumbing is probably going to be his hobby now. You know, if he's going to use it to make money, it's because he wants to. So doors of opportunities, and I want to encourage you, not even about Stay in Bio, anywhere that you go, people present you with opportunities and you're not taking them. You are cutting, you are selling yourself short. You cannot be crowd, you cannot be following, you cannot be a crowd followership system. That's not how it works. That's not how you get real value. Take advantage of opportunities. Part of what we do in Stay in Bio and what we're going to hone in on much more, you know, very soon in the nearest future is we're going to be scouting for a lot of opportunities and we're going to push them out in your faces. We want to make sure that you then have the responsibility. We've done our part. You are not paying us. We're just trying to help you. So you do your own part and snag these opportunities and see where it takes you, see where it leads you. So thank you so much for Christopher and Daniel. Please clap for them if their stories have inspired you. They've really been helpful. They've encouraged us as well. They make us realize that what we're doing is absolutely important. So please, let's you know, applaud them and wish them all the best as they move on with their biosciences journey. So we're going to go ahead and just get right into the reason why we're here. We're spot on time, so I know that we're going to finish way before before the time runs out. All right, so Seyi and I are now going to talk about application. Seyi and I are very dynamic in the sense that we have very, and I think that's what makes us a very perfect fit for what we're doing with Stay in Bio. So we're very opposites, we're different poles basically. So I'm more into research and building your career in that, working in a research lab, doing research and doing those kind of things, while Seyi is more corporate, getting jobs. She's your job person if you want to get a job, and me, I'm your graduate school person if you know that you want to go and get graduate school. But together we do fellowships as well. So we were into fellowships or into internships. Anyways, we're like that. But we also have very opposite journeys, in the sense that I have suffered a lot of rejections. I'm telling you, from the moment I finished, what's that thing, my undergraduate at Backup University, and I said that I had a very impressive profile as well. Maybe not as impressive as Daniel and Christopher, but it was good enough as at 2013. I suffered 7 rejections, and I'm not going to go into it because people that are part of Stay in Bio, they already probably know my story. But Seyi is completely different in the sense that she didn't suffer any rejection. So we sat down together and we're like, okay, what's making the difference between you and I? How come I suffered rejections, you didn't suffer rejections? To a good degree, I at least like my application should be impressive. Why did I suffer and you didn't suffer? And we came to one big conclusion. Is this thing called the role of a connector. Write it down if you haven't been taking notes. The role of a connector. And when I'm saying connector, I don't want you to think of it in the Nigerian sense of, oh, I have a connection somewhere. I have one uncle somewhere that works with Diamond Bank that can hook me up somewhere. No, we're talking about someone who is going to be relevant to your field. And I'll give you practical examples. So I want you to know that even as you are, it's going to take a lot. Like, you are going to be very lucky as a scientist to sail through your career in biology without having been turned down for one thing or the other. It happens to the best of us. It happens to everybody. And we're not here to rub your back and tell you sorry about it. We're here to tell you what you can do to bypass that process of getting rejected, or even to soften the blow so that even when you get rejected, you are still able to move forward profitably. So the thing that made the difference between Seyi and I is having relevant connectors, right? Now there are two roles that I can think off the top of my head that a connector can do for you. The very first one is that if they are relevant to your space, they can link you to somebody who can help you. Let me give you a practical example. My story. I finished my PhD. I had spent 5 years in a good lab with a great mentor. My mentor is more into environmental microbiology research, and I was doing biomedical research. I was doing antibiotic resistance. But the reason that I found myself in his lab is a completely different story, in the sense that when I got into graduate school, I wanted to study breast cancer. However, like 6 months down the line, the mentor who was supposed to train me on this breast cancer research decided that she got another job elsewhere, which was closer to her family. And she said, you know what, Yetunde, this job is no longer working for me. I'm sorry, but we cannot continue our mentor-mentee relationship. We now have to find a new lab. So I now had to start looking for labs that would take me, because I was already in school. It was still my first semester. So I started looking for labs that would take me. And the only person that could take me was my mentor, who was doing environmental microbiology research. I did not love environmental microbiology research. And I told him from the get-go that that's not what drives me. What drives me is biomedical research. Can you train me? And my mentor is a fantastic, brilliant cell and molecular biologist, which, if you know your science very well, molecular biology transcends all types of biology. So you can literally be a molecular biologist and you'll be fantastic in the biomedical side, and you'll be fantastic in the environmental side. So anyways, it was like, let's do it together. So we wrote a grant, we collaborated with chemistry people, we were doing fun science stuff, we were creating drugs, and drug candidates against antibiotic resistance. And I was responsible for figuring out the mechanism of action of these different drug candidates against a multi-drug resistant pathogen. Anyways, long story short, by the time I finished my PhD, typically what happens in a PhD program is that your PhD, you are literally, hardly will you find any PhD person that graduates in this society that they are now looking for a job. It's the truth, because it speaks about your professor as well. So what most PhD professors do is they help to pull on their networks for you. So as soon as I graduated, what was supposed to happen was for my PhD advisor to pull on his network for me so that I could be able to transition, especially if I've tried on my own. Let's say I've tried 10 job applications and I wasn't getting lucky. It should be normal for me to go to my professor and say, look, I have tried, I'm not getting in. Do you know anything that I don't know? Can you talk to somebody that can help me? Do you understand? But in that case, he wasn't relevant. Mitchell wasn't relevant to what I was doing because he was doing environmental research. And most of the people in his network were doing environmental research. And I was interested in biomedical research. So no matter how much of a connection that Dimitri had, he could not help me because it was not relevant. Do you understand? So that is the role of a connector, if they are relevant. And I think that's what majorly made the difference between my story and Seyi's story. Seyi will tell you about her journey as well shortly, how it was that she basically moved from an undergrad to NYC to having a job, having another job, having another job, and she did not suffer any application rejection. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me know if what I'm saying to you works. And I'll tell you, I'll share practical tips. I know some of you are probably thinking in your head, oh yeah, everybody cannot have. It's a lie. Everybody can have, and I'll tell you how to do it. But you get my gist. You may have a connector, but they might not be relevant to you. So even as I did my PhD advisor was not relevant to connect me to where I needed to go. So it was up to me to be able to figure it out. Seyi, do you want to go ahead and talk about how it was that you did not happen to suffer like I did? If you can. Seyi, you're muted, we can't hear you. Oh, I think we lost Seyi because she dropped off. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and continue. I'll give you another example. So I went to, so a practical example that I can share with you. Someone reached out to me recently, like last month on LinkedIn, and he basically said to me, I wanted to share the screenshot with you guys as well, and I can share before we leave today. He basically said to me, hi, I'm going to read it actually, that I can do that. He reached out to me on LinkedIn and he said, good afternoon, Dr. Adewunmi. I'm seeking out opportunities to conduct more research related to bioremediation, biodegradation, and similar fields. I would really appreciate your help if you have any tips or recommendations about whom I should meet. I've never met this person before. He just added me on LinkedIn and he added me. Unknowingly to him, another person had reached out to me on LinkedIn, a recruiter. He said to me that he works for the US Army Corps of Engineers and he's seeking chemistry and biology degreed individuals who are interested in environmental restoration programs, specifically in remediation and physical environmental chemistry. That have I worked with bacteria before? Do I have a PhD? And am I open to work in XYZ? So immediately that guy reached out to me, he sounded like an environmental person. And I remember that recruiter. So I told the recruiter and I said, look, when the recruiter even reached out to me, I didn't answer, I didn't respond. So that person reaching out to me, I basically just went to the recruiter and I said, I have somebody who has this background, they're interested, they have a PhD. This is their contact, reach out to them. And immediately the recruiter reached out to me. He was like, do you have his email? Let's talk. And that's how they went from there. So you can have a connector. A connector can be direct, like my PhD advisor example, and a connector can be indirect. Do you understand? So there are two types of different connectors that I'm telling you, these things will make a difference for you in your journey, especially if you
Definitely.
have to. Seyi, do you want to go ahead and share your example?
Yes, definitely. So I just sometimes laugh at a lot of you who have these really good professors, really good doctors, and really good friends that are in career, that are having a career in biosciences, but you just keep them as friends. Sometimes I hear things like, oh, I don't want to disturb him. What do you think your professor is there for? What do you think you have a course advisor for? You're supposed to make use of all these people. And this is how you can, and I don't mean use in a bad way, but there's a function that they have in your life. But sometimes we just downplay it and we don't use them. And we don't know what they are for. So when we are supposed to call on them, they don't come to our mind because we don't even know why we have them. I'll tell you how I got my first job. Yetunde is right about me not having so many rejections. As a matter of fact, once I hadn't finished my NYC before I got 2 job offers to choose from. And what happened? Somebody referred me. The lady who I was working with in the management team of IITA, there was a workshop going on, and she said, you know what, Seyi, I think you can teach these people, so go and teach them. Now, the first lesson you should learn here, for her to tell me to teach people, you should know that I had shown that I can do it, and that's why she pushed me there. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that you should make sure you're excellent in whatever you're doing. It is excellent people that they are going to send to represent them. That's number 1. Number 2, it is excellent people that the connector will refer. Do you understand? Because your connector has a standard, right? And when he says, oh, if he has a friend who is looking for somebody, say in his research team, or he has a friend who is looking for somebody to work with him, he's going to say, oh, and I know this girl, Seyi, how is he going to remember you if you don't prove yourself to be excellent? Number 1. Number 2, the other person who they are referring you to will say, oh, Professor so has a very high standard. I know he's not going to send me somebody that is mediocre. So they take their recommendations seriously. So use your connector. Once you need anything, even if sometimes your connector may not be in the field of your interest or the field that you are in, he would know somebody that knows somebody. If you prove yourself to be an excellent person, your connector will find it very easy to connect you and refer you to this person. But sometimes your name may not be the first one that they will call. It is your duty to remind them, talk to them, say, oh, I need this, I need that. I want to do this. What do you think I can do about it? That way, even if it is way beyond what they're doing or way out of their line, in the nearest future, when they hear something about environmental biology, they're going to remember and say, oh, Seyi talked about this thing. They may not even have clarity on what the person wants to do so much, but they're going to say, oh, I have this person. And then it will now be up to you, But those are the kind of things that your connector does for you. Those are the kind, he's literally or she's literally connecting you to opportunities, to grad school, to career, and that's what they do. And so every time you have a course advisor, make sure that you actually make an effort to connect with your connector, like have a connection with them, so that they can guide you, so that they would want to see you successful. There are many people that come to them, but they only feel that they will be able to help. And it's those that prove themselves to be worthy of connecting, and excellence. Excellence is very important. So that is literally how I have from gotten no rejection. I literally climbed up ladders through referrals from people who have connected me to other people. And that's very important in your bioscience journey.
You guys, so thank you, Seyi, so much. Guys, this thing might sound like it is cliche, but it is true. I remember when I was an undergrad, I told you guys I suffered 7 rejections from 7 schools in the US. I had this one professor, Professor Adewunmi, I will never forget him. He was one of my best professors in uni, and we maintained contact. I always carried him along. In fact, so when I was doing my undergraduate research, was during the summer holidays. So my dad used to have to go and drop me to go, and I was on plant research. So I used to have to go and water my plants almost every other weekend in school. So I would meet the professors, and I got to meet them from the end. With long story short, by the time we were done, and I was trying to apply to schools, I was looking for recommendation, and that's another thing that a lot of Nigerian students suffer from. They're looking for recommendation letters. Professor Adedayo was with me throughout. He saw me suffering, and coincidentally, Professor Adedayo had been teaching in Canada for many, many years. It was when he retired, he now came to Nigeria to become like an adjunct professor at Babcock University. So he had connections. So he was not only willing to write me recommendation letters, he said, Yetunde, if it means that I have to talk to my colleagues for you, we will see to it that you get into graduate school and you get into your PhD program. That's what he did for me. He was like a super connector for me. Another brilliant example is another person that I know, a friend of mine. His name is Waid. Waid is a dentist, but when in his second year in dental school, he fell in love with molecular biology and genetics. So he was more interested in how dental, like something like craniofacial diseases happen to children from a molecular level. So he wasn't just interested in being a dentist that would sit down at the clinic. He wanted to do research from a genetic standpoint. So by the time he graduated, he didn't even know what he was going to do, right? But it was one of the professors. He told me that he was literally climbing the stairs one day, and one of his professors said to him that, Waid, how far now? So you are graduating soon. What's the next step for you? What did Waid say? That I'm not really interested in doing board exams. I just want to do research. His professor, who was the HOD, said, I know somebody at the University of Iowa doing exactly what you want. This is their contact. Reach out to them. Unfortunately for Waid, that story for another day, he didn't reach out to the person. Anyways, there were 3 people that were so invested in his future, and 3 consecutive times, 3 different people introduced him to the same person who could help him. It was until then his mind now opened up that was like, wait a minute, 3 people have introduced me to this person. Let me take my career forward. Today, Waid is done with his PhD in the lab where he got introduced by his university HOD. Now he has finished, he has gotten a job. Who helped him to get his job? His PhD advisor, who was introduced to him by his HOD. So you can never ever underestimate the role of a connector. It will help you a lot. You may now wonder, okay, you are saying all these things, so how do I get connector? Like I've said to you, there are 2 different kinds of connector. They can be direct, they can be indirect, meaning that you may know them, you may not have to know them. Daniel shared with you, when Hannah reached out to me on Instagram, she didn't know me, I didn't know her. She just told me, hey, I received your emails, I follow Stay in Bio, I am this, so and so, this is what I want to do. I'm looking for a good place to do an internship, and I'm finding it really difficult. I just say, hold up a minute. And I reached out to Seyi because I know that Seyi has connections in Lagos. So I said, Seyi, I have this particular person. She's trying to get into an internship. Can you help? Seyi said, tell her to reach out to so and so that she's from me. Do you understand? And that's how she got connected to her. Now, after her internship, she got a job. Now I think it's either she's still at that job or she's moving on to another job. So don't ever underestimate the role of a connector. That was what made the difference between Seyi and I. That's what has continued to make a difference in my life today. So 1, they can be direct, they can be indirect. You don't have to know me to reach out to me, to ask me for help. I'm not saying that everybody should reach out to me and say that I should connect them. That's not what I'm not saying that I'm a connector, but I'm saying what you take out from here is you have to literally sit down with yourself after this webinar and think about all the people in your life and say, who can be a connector? It can be your friend. If you're on the Stay in Bio community, I sent emails to people where I knew of opportunities, but I didn't know who could fit into these opportunities. I reached out to another friend and I said, do you know who is looking for this? So some people always think their village people are following them up and down. They don't want to tell them that they want to travel abroad to do their PhD. Be serious, please. Go and write down the list of people in your lives and highlight the ones that can serve as connectors for you. Highlight if they are direct or indirect connectors. Start reaching out to them. That person who reached out to me on LinkedIn didn't know me, I didn't know him. He just reached out to me, and it coincidentally happened that a recruiter had reached out to me concerning exactly what he wanted. Seyi has stories like this as well, where a recruiter reaches out to her and she will not respond until someone comes and says, hey, I'm looking for this opportunity. Immediately, she will remember that recruiter and connect them together. That's how it happens, guys. If you don't want to eat breakfast, work on your connectors. Let the chat be buzzing. Let me hear if you are hearing me. Let me know if what I'm saying or if what we have shared with you so far has made sense. I'm going to share another way that you can get a connector. Yes, only Ridwan is saying yes. It's only Ridwan I will answer if Ridwan reaches out to me in the future that he wants me to be able to see if I know anybody in this field. I not see your comment. Guys, I'm joking. Oh, I don't have connection like that. Oh, I'm trying my best. Okay, all of us are helping each other here. Okay, so you get me, right? Is this helping you? I assume that it is helping you. Another way that you can get a connector, this one blew my mind. I was talking to my mentor, right? And we were talking, he's the one that encouraged us to start staying bio. And he shared with me, he said that one day he received an email from a Nigerian student. And that the Nigerian student just said that, sir, I am a biologist. I like genetics. I like molecular biology. I just want to be joining your lab meetings. Period. That's just all I want. Like if you meet every Friday or if you meet every other week, I want to be joining your lab meeting every other week because I want to learn about research. So you can imagine if there are 10 people that are working in the lab and every other week, one person is talking about their research, they are presenting it. The lab meeting is where you present your research, where you talk about your mistakes, where you share your results. It's like a brainstorming session. So imagine going there every week and you are just learning what people are doing and you show up faithfully. And he said, no problem, she is just to join lab meeting, virtual. You don't have to collect visa, you don't have to do anything. You can join, it's okay, join. And the person kept on joining. Do you know that at the end of the day, they had maybe a statistics task that they needed to hand out to somebody, and it was a huge volume of statistics that it would have taken time of the PhD students in the lab. They gave it to the students who was joining the lab meetings every week. That, can you handle this? Someone said yes, handle this immediately. Today, he's a co-author in the paper of the lab. There's nothing that they want to do in that lab that he doesn't join, that they don't think of him first. Are you trying to tell me that tomorrow, if he graduates from school and he wants to decide that he wants to do his PhD, they will not hire him in the lab, that he will go through the struggle of Daniel and I, applying to this, that, and that they will not collect? Do you understand what I'm saying? These are ways, practical ways, that you can find yourself a connector that will make a difference for you. Tomorrow, even if he doesn't want to do the type of research that they are doing, all he has to do is say, sir, I'm ready. I want to come and do my master's degree, or I want to come and do my PhD degree, or I want a job. There is nothing that professor will not do, because I'm telling you, the DNA of some professors is that once they get to mentor you, they will see to it that you are not hanging, you are not left hanging. That's what I was telling you, that my PhD advisor, at the end of the day, when every week you will come and meet me, Yetunde, how far your PhD, how far your job application? How far your job application? How far your job application? I'll be saying, sir, it's not working. He almost cornered me into doing a postdoc in environmental microbiology, but that's not what I wanted to do. So it was up to me. That's another thing. They will make sure that you are not left hanging. So please, if you are going to take anything out of this today, is you need to work on connectors. And we're not saying connectors in the Nigerian context of, connect me, I have one person in one place there. Somebody that you can literally hook on to. Remember, they can be direct, remember, they can be indirect. I challenge you today. If you know that you want to do a PhD in the US, in the UK, in Australia, in Germany, and maybe you're in 400 level, look at all the schools that are out there. Look at the professors, just tell them that their research fascinates you and you want to join their lab meetings every day. You understand that data is what's that word now? Data is kind of like private, and there are things that even if you need to sign a contract, you don't mind. all you just want to do is learn fantastic research, I'm telling you, you will not suffer. Do you understand what I've just said? Please put it in the chat if this has made sense to you. If you are going to challenge yourself today to make sure that you are finding connectors in your life or in your career. Someone is my name. They said yes.
Let me tie it up. Let me tie it up a little bit for us. How the connector, again, just to remind you how the connector is helping you in this not getting applications, rejected applications. Your connector will literally take you through the application. Do you understand? He will take you through the application so that you don't put in a mediocre application in the first place. You put in your best application. Do you understand me? And so if at that point, if at all there is a rejection, it will not be on the side of your application because your connector has done well to prepare you for that application. So do we agree that we need a connector?
Seyi, you just made a fantastic point that has blown my mind. We've just talked about one role of a connector, that a connector can literally connect you like this, like that. Another thing a connector can do for you, which Seyi has just said, is that they can help you to understand the dynamism of the application process.
Yes.
What I have noticed, and Daniel shared it as well, but maybe you didn't get it very well, maybe it wasn't highlighted to you enough, is that a lot of times there's a dichotomy between the application and the applicant. You don't even understand the application. You just read online that if you have this, if you have that, if you have this, you have that, apply. You apply, and then you get denied. But you don't really understand what's going on. You need your connector. Is another thing your connector can do is they can be your inside man. They can teach you biology of that application process. We heard Daniel. Daniel said he didn't do anything differently. It was just some of the little things that he was learning. That's the role I played. I didn't call anybody at the University of Pittsburgh. I didn't do anything, but because I had gone through the process of application, I know how the US American system of application works. This is not a pitch.
Exactly.
I don't help people with application. She doesn't help people with application. So I'm not saying that you should come and pay me for money. Please listen to me with your ears and divorce anything that is making you think that we want to collect your money. No, because I know how this thing works. I was able to tell Daniel that Emory University, do you know why people go there? Emory University is beside CDC. If you don't know CDC is Center of Diseases and Control. People that go to CDC are trying to put one leg. People that go to Emory University are literally trying to put one leg into CDC. So the application requirements is not your mate. And I'm not saying that you can't go to Emory University. That's what I told Daniel. But I'm saying that consider that there are other programs that are just as good as the program that are in Emory University. That's what Daniel was after. He wanted to go to the Harvards. He wanted to go to the Emory. He wanted to go to all the big names. But there are also other schools who have fantastic programs. And I remember giving them an example. That video is on YouTube. I said that there's this school that I know, the University of Southern Mississippi. Nobody knows that school. But their polymer science department is the third best in the whole United States of America. So you are busy running after Emory University. You don't even know the ranking of the Emory University is good though. I'm just using it as an example. Or maybe let's say Harvard or something. Harvard may be good with business, but they may not be good with biology. So you being able to understand that application process can help you change a lot. That's another thing that your connector can do. And I know that Seyi has another example with that as well, with the data science thing you told me about.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to the inside, he's basically your inside man, just like Yetunde has said. There are things that, and it's the same way she was able to help Daniel with his application. It's the same way I was able to help people who are probably going for job interviews or need jobs. I've had to hire I know what your hiring manager is looking for. I know what your recruiter is looking for. I know the things that from the get-go, they are not going to cut it. So your connector is going to help you to put forth a stellar application, give you information that maybe other people don't have. For example, imagine that you want to, I'm talking from the job angle because that's pretty much where I'm really good at. Imagine that you want to work for 54G. Imagine that you want to work for 54G, and you know somebody who is inside 54G. Your connector works there, or your connector knows somebody who works there. They're going to be able to tell you a lot about the company that you cannot get on the internet. You will not get how the you can get a little glimpse of how their culture is, but you cannot get it as much as somebody who is inside telling you about it. You already know how to present yourself and put your best foot forward. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, no, it's not like this is the only thing we want to hammer on today, but because of how we have seen how it is important, it is very, very important, very, very important, and it's something that if you don't have one, you need to find one. Yesterday, I shared tips on how to get one. Now, one tip I'm going to share with you is look for somebody in the field that you want to be in, right? And follow the person. Now, you don't even, the way technology is nowadays, you can literally see all the steps of what a person has done from a place like LinkedIn. Okay, if I want to be like the CEO of Illumina or something, I'm going to go to his profile. I'm going to check his skills. I'm going to check his education. If I replicate that, what do you think is going to happen to me? That's another way that you have gotten an indirect connector. So there shouldn't be any excuses. Oh, yeah, I sent a message, he's not replying, or what. We are going to come to the way you people send messages as well. We're going to come to that because sometimes there are so many errors, grammatical errors, and those are some of the reasons that your application gets rejected. Imagine you saying you're applying for a role that the requirement is that you pay attention to detail, but your application did not pay attention to detail. Do you understand? Those kind of things attract rejections. And those are the kind of things that we're talking about. So find the person the position that you want to be. And if you notice, that's one of the things that Christopher did. He was still an undergraduate when he was looking at things that he wanted to do in the future. And he started to prepare himself. Look at, when he got this Africa Comes program, he was preparing for GRE. The reason he got his passport was because he was preparing for GRE. But he saw this other opportunity, and because he was already prepared for it, the opportunity was prepared for him as well. So find the person that you want to be. If you want to be the Director General of NAFDAC tomorrow and in the near future, go and check out the Director General of NAFDAC from today. Check what she does or he does. Check the skills that he has learned. Check the positions that they have been. Go and start preparing yourself how you're going to volunteer in those positions to get to where the person has gotten to. If you do what they did, you will be where they are. You will get to where they are. So that's a way that your connector can indirectly connect you. I started a journey in data science earlier in the year. And the end goal is to use data science for biosciences, because years ago we didn't know that informatics was going to mingle with biosciences to become bioinformatics. There are many fields that are yet to be unfolded, and it's a challenge I put to you guys today, because the future, somebody today is going to come in the future and say, oh, there's something called maybe bio cooking or something, and they found a merger between I like food, so that's my example. They found a merger between food and biosciences in a way that we haven't yet seen. We know that we see how microbes play a part in food now, but maybe in a way that we haven't yet seen. Somebody is going to bring that up in the future, and it could be you. So here I was trying to learn data science. I just looked at a lady who has, pivoted in that career, and I said, she learned this from Google, she learned this from Udemy, she learned this from so school. I'm going to follow exactly what she did, and I am getting the results that she got because I'm following what she did. So find that person, find that position that you want to be in, pick what they have done and start to follow it. It's not when you finish school that you just start thinking about that. For all of you who are undergraduates here, start from now. You prepare yourself from now. Let me tell you another reason you get maybe, you know what, maybe we should just do this as sequentially as we wanted to. But I'm going to, very soon, I'm going to tell you why you are, some of the reasons why you are getting rejected that is actually very, very, it is not beyond your control. It is you that caused it. There are those ones. We're talking about factors that cause rejections that you can control, and there are some factors that you cannot control. In the factors that you can control, we have talked about you getting a connector, right? Now, we're going to talk about you preparing yourself. We've actually pretty much talked about that. Preparing yourself for the opportunity. A lot of people, especially in the workspace and in the academic space, they don't want to start training people from scratch. Now, if you as an undergraduate have been preparing yourself, you take advantage of all these programs that are coming up. You know, there's a workshop. NIMA is actually doing a workshop pretty soon. You know, how many people have taken advantage of it? It's free for students. Some of you just don't want to learn anything. And you should, because it's going to be useful for you. You never know the edge that is needed in a position that you need to be in. That it will be from just 2 days of NIMA's workshop that was free for students. That's going to give you that edge.
Yes, you
Do you
find
understand?
somebody in NIMA, you hook to them and they're doing research. So don't just go to the workshop and eat their jollof rice. Go there and hear the research that draws to you and ask them, oh, you want to be part of their lab, how can you volunteer? Anything.
Ask them questions.
I presented my research one time. It was close to my graduation when I was looking for a job. I went to that workshop. I presented my research. The person does cancer stuff. I did antibiotic resistance, but she couldn't get over the way that I presented, because I've said it before, one thing that PhD does for you is it helps with communication a lot. So when I presented, she was like, wow, this is fantastic. That what do you plan to do with your career? You're in your 5th year already. I said, I'm not really sure. I don't think I want to do academia. I'm still trying to figure it out. And she literally started begging me that I should stay in academia, that I have the talent for it, that this one down. She was begging me. She gave me her card. She said, if you need anything in this life, reach out to me. She took a picture with me. She said, I want to keep it. So I'm just telling you what meetings can do for you. Like when you hear now, when they are doing, we perused through it together. We looked at it. We saw that they are giving scholarships to students. And if you're not a student, you will have to pay. They will ask you to, I think, submit a recommendation letter from your
office or something.
Student ID card. These are things you can get. So many things you can get from these things. This is how you can get.
And guess what? There are many of them. These companies that do workshops. Inkaba, Christopher went for something with Inkaba. Inkaba does workshops. The workshop fees they have. They expect you to pay workshop fees. Write an email, and this is how you start practicing how to write applications. You have to start from somewhere. Write an email to them and say, oh, I really want to learn molecular techniques that you are teaching me. But unfortunately, I'm a student and I cannot afford the fee. And then you will present a good application such that they will make an exception for you. So this is how you're going to get into all these places and get all the skills that are required. Then, if a recruiter sees you or somebody in a department that you like, that you apply to sees you, you would have gathered the skills already. People will always take the person that they have to train less over the person that they have to train more. That is just the truth of the matter.
No matter which connector you have. Even if the person who doesn't have the skill has a connector, compared to the person who has the skill does not have, they will always prefer the person who has the skill. So we're not saying that having a connector is the all in all. So you have to do that as well.
And Christopher mentioned, there's something that I told Christopher, which he mentioned to me that he actually ran with. And I'm going to tell you people again today. It's okay to have employment gap, but you must not have skill or knowledge gap. You must be learning something. People always want to take people who learn things, right? Keep yourself up to date with what's happening. They will hire you. They will pick you because they see that, oh, this person is always constantly improving themselves. By the time you have maybe a resume or a CV, and in your resume, you may not even have much experience, but they are seeing 2019, you took a course on Udemy. 2019, December, you took another course on Udemy. 2020, you took a course on Coursera. They see how you are learning, and they will be happy to teach you, and they will be sure that in this position that they want to put you, or in this research position, or in this job position, you are actually going to learn. You're actually going to, because that is your way. Some of you have nothing that you are doing, and you have a big space. You are not pregnant, you did not give birth, nothing. You just have this big space between when you graduated and maybe like 5 years. Then you expect somebody to want to invest in you, but you did not invest in yourself. So how do you expect that is going to work? Repeat after me. It is okay to have an employment gap, but you must not have a knowledge or skill gap. Learn something. If you're an undergrad, between your 400 level, between your 300 level and 400 level, okay, maybe that one, there's always IT. How about 300 level first semester and second semester? What did you do with your time? How did you improve on yourself? How did you make yourself more employable for the future? How did you make yourself more, how did you make yourself more qualified for a research position, for a post-grad position in the future? There's competition, and you have to make yourself stand out.
Yeah.
If not, the rejected applications keep coming. These are factors that you can change. Change them.
Yes. These are factors, again, that you can control. And another common mistake. Now we're highlighting, I think we've already even transitioned into common mistakes that people make, that they're not in your face that you're actually making a mistake, but they're there. Is that this thing that Seyi just said in brief, that she said you cannot have an employment gap, or you cannot have a skills gap, is what will help you deal when you actually have a rejection.
Yes.
I know somebody who her portfolio was as exciting as Daniel's portfolio. The two of them together, I was rooting for them. She didn't get in. But it's not the end of the world for her, because she has a job. She's developing herself. She has skills. She's doing research. This year, we're going to do it together. We will hold the bull's horns. We will go through what we did last year. But no, it has nothing on her. She has done her own part. So a common mistake that most of you make, I'm going to say it now, and allow me to be blunt, is I'm doing my NYSC. When I finish, or when I'm about to be done, I will start applying. You've not understood what breakfast is. Honestly speaking, what do you mean that you're going to wait till after your PhD, you are very busy, you are this, you are that? Let me tell you, part of the ways that you, like I said, it's almost inevitable for anybody to not go through rejections. But the thing that makes the difference is it should be happening at a time when you can take it, when it is okay. If you wait until
you're desperate,
actually need it, then you start applying, and then you haven't attended Seyi webinars before. You don't know how, unlike Christopher, that the first time he did it like this, it entered. Some of you have to, like me, 7 times I had to do it before I got in. Like Daniel, 2 years before he got in. You cannot be affording to make some mistakes over applications that come once a year.
Yeah.
It will not help you. There's some mistakes you can't afford to make. You cannot say that you want to apply to graduate school that takes every year to come around, and you want to close your application in 3 weeks. It's not going to work. Do you understand? So you saying, oh, I'm going to finish my NYC. When I finish my NYC, I will dedicate time to this. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but we're saying don't pass up opportunities based on the fact that you have something going on for you right now. Christopher is a perfect example. He had his plumbing career going on for him. But when the opportunity for Africa came, bam, he did it, bam, he got in. Do you understand what we're saying? So don't always wait until the right time. You have to understand that timing is so important in all of these things. What will happen if you decide to wait? is that you not finish your NYC now, you finish in December, you realize that the deadline is January. You start running after one professor that does not really like you to give your application letter. It's the reason you will not submit your application on time. It's the reason you will have to wait. Or let's say they even gave you everything. You now realize that, oh my God, if only I had GRE. You now say, oh, let me read for GRE. In 2 weeks, you fail the GRE. You've given yourself 1 year of unnecessary pain. Whereas if you had started when you were in 400 level, again, that's what made the difference for me. That's again another thing about connector is my brother acted as a connector for me. He didn't know he's an engineer. He does energy stuff. But he said to me, if you want to go to graduate school after your NYC, in 400 level, I started. Ask my friends, they will tell you. I started my application so that when I was eating the application breakfast, it was happening when it was okay. I was still eating my mom and dad's money. It was good. Do you understand? So that by the time I was done with my NYC, I had already received sense, in the sense that I knew exactly what to do. I knew what had been doing wrong, so that by the time I was ready, it was time for me to go. So never make the mistake of when I graduate, I'll do it. When I finish my NYC, I'll apply. When I do. We know some. Don't let me even get into it, because so anyways, it's okay to suffer a rejection, but sometimes it helps when it happens at the right time. Do you understand what you're saying? So what we're saying. So another problem that I've seen people make, oh my goodness, is that they take there are two things that happen to a lot of people, especially when it comes to graduate school. And I don't know if this happens with job applications as well. But like I said, my own experiences in graduate school is some people don't know how to diversify between wanting to japa and building their career. You just say to yourself in a naive way, and maybe you don't even know all these things, which is why it's important for you to plug yourselves into webinars such as this. Is you just say to yourself, I want to do a master's degree in the UK when I graduate. But you are not considering that your ability to get into that graduate school is because of what you are going to be doing in this season. So I'm going to give you a practical example. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to japa. You are in such a unique field. I've already said to you how dynamic it is. I studied microbiology. I did antibiotic resistance research. Now I'm doing vaccine development. It is very dynamic. You are in a field where you can actually do consulting and you can make good money out of it. You are in a field where you can decide that you want to be a data analyst and combine your data work with your biology. There's one person that we hired where I work simply because he knows how to do statistics, not because he's good in biology. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you are in such a unique field that if you use this opportunity to package yourself, you will not be looking for Jackpot. Jackpot will be looking for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So learn to know the difference between I want to Japan, I want to travel, I want to go for my master's, and you actually packaging yourself. Daniel is here. He can bear me witness. By the time he went for his, and Daniel, if you can unmute to say yes or no, or put it in the chat, I'll be so grateful. When he went for his visa interview, after he had gotten his admission letter, the people in the visa office, American Visa Embassy, they were saying, oh my God, you're so smart. How did you get a full assistantship? The officers that were interviewing him were beckoning onto each other. They were like, come and see this boy. Come and see this guy. Am I lying? Daniel, please put it in the chat if I'm lying against you. I'm not lying because he had packaged himself so much.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you from Nigeria, a country that is quote unquote, let's not call it what it is not, have a full scholarship when the people who are in America, they are groveling in student loans. If you've been following the news, you know everything that is going on with student loan forgiveness in the Biden administration. So they cannot get over the fact that, oh my God, you got a scholarship, not from Nigeria, but from the US to study. They don't understand that the way biology works because they're just visa officers. So they're like, oh my God, you're so smart. So if you are in this is a very unique field for you to be able to get what you want. If you package yourself well, Seyi is another example. Madam earning in dollars. Do you understand? Yes, and she does it from Nigeria. So there are opportunities. You know, they will look for you. You won't have to run after it. So focus on actually packaging yourself. That's another common mistake that I've seen. Go ahead, Seyi.
Then I wanted to talk about another thing from the job angle, right? A lot of you will receive a rejection email, and you just put it to one side and then we'll on to the next one. You shouldn't beat yourself up about a rejection email, but you should make an effort to try to find out from the recruiter what you can do better. Now, in line with what Yetunde said, this is the time when you can do that is when you are not pressed, in quotes. You are not desperate for a job. It will make sense for you to do that. That is why I'm hammering on do applications early, so that by the time you are actually ready, by the time you actually really need it, it will come so easily to you. Imagine that before the time that you are actually ready to take up a role, you've done some applications, you get a rejection, you message the HR, thank you for this, you know, send a respond to the email. For those that do not reply emails, send a reply and say, thank you, I'm grateful for the feedback and all that, and ask them what exactly was wrong with your application, and say, what can I do better? How do I stand a better chance next time? Let me tell you two things that does. You get the attention of that HR. They are going to remember your name as the one person that came back to say, what can I do better? Number two, it makes you a better person, because by the time they correct your resume or CV and say, oh, this is so reason why you didn't get it, you will be able to improve on yourself for your next application, and your next application will become better. At some point, you are going to become a guru in putting down applications. And I'm telling you that once somebody opens your application, they are going to grant you an interview just because of that preparation stage that you have put yourself through way before that time.
Yeah.
Now, it leads me to one other reason that you are not getting your job interview. You are submitting fancy formats that cannot pass through an ATS system. It's not scanning because you've put picture, suitcase, color green and pink, and this one, and it's not passing the software that is supposed to show, you know, the details of your application. You know, we're talking about you know, speaking to an HR and saying, what did you do? You can't talk to computer. Once it just sees that it cannot read the format, it's going to throw your application somewhere. And that's what you don't want. So those are some of the things that you can control. Put in a simple application. I'm going to prepare a format, a very simple format. You don't even need to have too many lines and all of that. We're going to post it one of these days on our Stay in Bio page. So please watch out for it. Those are the those are the formats of applications that you should put, because sometimes it's not even that you're not qualified, and it's not that you haven't written up a good application. It's that your format is covering you. The computer is not reading it up to the point that it will even let the HR or whoever is the hiring manager see it. And this also applies for grad school applications. Sometimes there are keywords that they are looking for in your application. They receive tons of applications each time. So imagine receiving 1,000 applications. Do you think that the person will actually go through 1,000 applications? It's just going to put it through a screening system that will say, these are the things that we're looking for. Problem solver, eager to learn, and put those kind of keywords. And the software literally filters it out, you know, and then screens it maybe now up to maybe 100 applications, which the person might eventually go through. So before you even get to the hiring manager's table, you have already shot yourself in the leg from the application that you put because you saw a fancy template. Fancy templates don't always pass through an ATS system. Make it simple. Let it be as detailed as necessary, right? 1, 2, 3 lines of your job experience or your volunteering experience, right? And you are good to go. Let me tell you one other thing. When Christopher put forth his Africa Comps application, when they asked him what he does and he described what he does to them, nobody knew he was volunteering. It's not going to matter, because what? You've gotten the skills. Nobody's going to hear that they didn't pay you any money for it. You learned it and you did the job, and that counts for everything. In your CV, you're not going to write in brackets, they did not pay me any money. You got the experience that you needed. You got the skills that you needed, and that counts for something. So for everyone who is looking down on volunteering, please do not, because these are the things that are going to matter in the future. You will notice that we've not talked about bad grades as a reason for your application rejection, because more often than not, in the world that we are today, nobody cares about your bad grades like that. They look beyond your grades. Now, I'm also using it to talk to you people that have first class. They will look beyond your first class. If you have first class, you don't have skills, I'm sorry, you are not getting hired. You will just get email that says, we appreciate the time that you put into this application. However, if you don't want to see, unfortunately, you need to beef up yourself. Okay, so it's beyond. And if you got bad grades in school, guess what? These are the areas that you will be able to develop yourself. Get the skills necessary. They will ask you maybe when you are in the 6 months in the job that you have already gotten. Do you understand what I mean? So it's something that shouldn't discourage you. Don't be discouraged about bad grades. Move on. Get the skills that you need for the job that you need to do. And that is what they are going to look at. We've seen countless, maybe you have heard it like thousands of times, tons of times. Steve Jobs, he dropped out. Bill Gates, all these online motivational speakers, they use it for you all the time, but it just never seems to get past you. They'll say, Bill Gates dropped out of school. Steve Jobs did not finish secondary school. This one did not go to nursery school, but he's the CEO of Heaven and Earth today. But you are not paying attention to that. They got the skill that makes them, skills will make them overlook your bad grade or your good grade. If you have the skill, you get the job.
Yep.
Because they know you can get the job done. So these are things that you need to look at. Forget fancy templates in your application. Go for a simple template that will pass, and use keywords that's going to make you pass through the ATS system and get a chance with the hiring manager. A lot of you are good with speaking, and even you have a good attitude, but nobody's going to get to see it because you shot yourself in the leg from the very start. Forget your bad grades and focus on getting skills. Let me tell you something, and this is not to say that you should now purposely do bad in school. You're on your own, because there are doors that good grades are going to open for you.
Yeah.
They are now, imagine the combination of good grades and skill. Who do you think is going to stop you? Who do you think is going to stop you? You know, so these are things that you really need to pay attention to if you want to move forward in this field. Get constructive feedback, work on it, and then you move.
And, I want to encourage you guys, because not everybody is still in school that they can fix all these things. Some people have already gone way into making these mistakes, and they are here to figure out what they can do to change it. And we'll get to, we're almost rounding up, but we will still touch on that a little bit. So please start thinking about your questions and putting it in the chat. Let us know if this is encouraging you. I'm going to say 3 more things that I know, have been or that will be instrumental to you. Number 2, like she has already said, so I'm not even going to say it again. Be good at combining your side hustle with something else that will help you. So like Christopher combined his plumbing with his bioinformatics. You should be able to do that. Another thing that will help you is to learn how to scout for opportunities. Some of you are just waiting for somebody to tell you what to do before you do them. It's not always going to happen. You need to be good. And that's another thing that we're going to help you with Stay in Bio as well, is we've looked for volunteers who are willing to actually help look for these opportunities. But these are things that will help you deal with the actual rejection, like what you wanted to actually do. You got rejected for it, but you can still lean on a plan B that is sufficient enough and that will still help you progress very successfully in your career. So you need to be good at scouting for opportunities to be able to help yourself. I know it sounds cliche, but stay motivated. Like, Don't actually feel like, oh, you know what, my life is over. After all, they didn't give me admission. After all, I didn't get this job. Well, for me, what kept me going was it is either microbiology or it is either microbiology. I don't have any other option. I have to go and get my PhD degree. So it is either success or success for me. One thing that keeps me going is that my parents spent a lot of money trying to train me, and I actually worked hard in school. I did not pass my exam based on rice and beans. I stayed up, I studied, I did things. Do you understand? So I suffered like this in school, and that's what kept me going. I said, this suffer, it will now end in pot of beans. I will not go to my desired location now. I'm going to do it. So that's what literally kept me going, is that I knew that it was either here or here. Last thing that I'm going to say, and Seyi touched on it a little bit, is please, when you try to connect with your connectors or you try to connect with somebody, can you, one, make it free of grammatical errors? Actually, maybe put it in Microsoft Word. And I genuinely know that some people find it a little bit difficult, and maybe you don't know. And I blame it sometimes on the Nigerian system of education, because that's how you were educated. You don't have any other choice. And it's okay if that's not even what might open the door for you, but to a large extent, if I have to read what you're telling me 4 times, I'm already having headache. It's not because I don't want to help you. By the time I'm reading it the 4th time, someone has sent me a message on Instagram and I've left LinkedIn. Do you understand? Like notification, I'm reading your message, I'm trying to understand. Notification will just pop from WhatsApp on my phone. I've flown away and I've forgotten. So make it thought, like I'm going to read something that someone sent to me that I'm like, what am I supposed to do to answer this question? Please, if you know how to answer this question, help me to unmute and answer it. Just reach out to me. Hello, Yetunde. Please, I need a particular American university that offers scholarships for international students. I've searched, but I'm not getting any satisfying results. Thanks. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm supposed to go for you and look for American universities because I don't have what I'm doing. Hello. Be fair now. Do you understand what
you people should be trying?
Yes. Come on. Don't be like that. What do you mean? I should look for universities for? That's your job, yo. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So please. Actually, there's another person that reached out to me. I shared it. She said, hello, please. Can you read my what did she call it?
I can't remember.
Can you read my
what I was covered?
I don't know you from anywhere. You are not even a member of Stay in Bio. I don't know you. You just entered my DM and you're just like, hi, please, can you read my letter? I want to know if it is acceptable by the application board. I don't even know your background. I don't even know anything about you. I'm human. So one thing you should know is that the other person behind the email is a human being. They might be having a bad day. So you just come with your
And the funny thing is,
read it.
You guys, like, there are ways to ask. Do you know that if the question is coined in a different way, there are ways to coin your questions that she will go and look for course for you, to be honest. But you don't write that way. You just write with entitlement mentality, and as if you are the one paying my dollars.
I'm not paying at my job that is paying me.
So remember that Stay in Bio is not here using computer to answer email. We are the ones here, and we're human beings. And there's a way, and people see, and I think maybe we should advise people to take courses on emotional intelligence, because if you're emotionally intelligent, you know how to present something that will make somebody actually want to help you and want to work for you.
Yes.
If the person came and said, "Oh, I have I tried searching for this, I tried this way, and I've tried this way. Please, do you know any other way that I can try to get such results?" Did you know that the response is different?
Appeal or say that, look, I know that this comes in very rough and I don't know you. and you don't even
Yeah.
have to do this for me, but I've tried getting help. In your free time, it
dear.
doesn't have to be right now. Actually make me happy a little bit. And I'm saying it because this isn't even about me, because I don't have the power to put you in a job. But this is how some of you approach the people that have that power.
Exactly.
And it's not going
Exactly.
to help you. It is not going to help you at all. You need to be intelligent. One of the things one of my professors shared with me that I know made a difference in my job search when I graduated with my PhD. She told me, I said, look, Professor Donaldson, I've tried, I've applied, I've done this. She said, okay, write another email and try and appeal to their sense of empathy. So I said, okay.
Yes.
And I wrote that email, the email of my dreams. I sat down for 2 hours and I constructed that email. That job application that job that I got had been posted 2 months before I applied for it. And I follow all these job people that they will tell you that immediately the job announcement comes out, make sure that you're one of the people, because by the time you are applying, and we're going to talk about that before we close today, factors you can't control. By the time you are applying, you are just throwing in your application to a system that has already been closed. So I stated it there. I said everything. I told her how passionate I was. And then I said that, look, I know that you posted this job so and so months ago. Just in case you haven't filled it out, please, let me know, consider me. I'm really passionate about it. I know that it doesn't even make sense for me to reach out to you, but I'm reaching out to you because I am really passionate about this. I want to do this. That's what I said in the email. And then I said, if you can't help me, please forward me to somebody that can help.
That can help. Mm-hmm.
If you think that my stuff is compelling and you think that there's someone else that has this opportunity that's open for me, please forward them to me or forward me to them. I sent this email on Friday. Monday, she reached out to me. She said, where's your CV again? Tell your recommendations to send me their emails again. I want to talk to you tomorrow. And that's how I got my job. So empathy is so important, you guys.
In summary, you want to, we've said that you should make an impression. Let them remember you. But let's rephrase that. Let them remember you for the right reasons. Don't be remembered as the person that was uncouth in an email or an application. They say, oh, that person that said this, so and so. You want to be remembered for the right reasons. And this is how you do it. You write it with empathy, right? And somebody is going to remember and say, oh, this was the person that when I heard the story, and they won't forget the story because you made an important mark. And that's very important.
And not that thing people do. They will slide into your DMs or they'll send you an email. And I know that this happened because when I was in graduate school, they usually put the names of the students, the kind of research they are doing. So people would have already seen my name as a Nigerian. So many Nigerian students would reach out to me. So I know it's a common thing that people do. You don't ask a question. You just say, oh, hello, I saw your email, I saw your name. It's nice meeting you. I know you need help. But what am I supposed to respond to that? How can you send me an email and say, hello, ma, my name is so and so, I have a question. I'm actually sitting down on the other end waiting for you to ask the question. They just end it like that. I have a question. And you don't say, and people always say, these Instagram people that sell things, they always say it as well. Like, ask your question. I don't have time to be chatting with you saying, okay, my dear, what's your question? Ask it. With all sincerity, I will try and answer you. Put everything together at once. Let your message be complete. When you think about the sentences you are making, let it make a complete thought. Let your message be complete in its entirety. Don't pause halfway and say, I have a question, ma. Full stop, send. I probably not reply to you. I'm assuming, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just assuming that, okay, whenever maybe something happened, maybe someone called them in between the chat, whenever they get back to their phone, they will ask me the question. So I don't bother replying because I'm actually expecting you to answer. If I now remember, I can now go back and be like, okay, what's your question? But many of you have made that mistake and you keep on saying people don't respond to you, and these are the reasons why.
Yes, put all you want in one email so that the first glance, once they give you, see, it's like an elevator pitch where you have just one chance. Put everything in that box so that once they open your email, or they open your message, they see everything. Do you understand? And you have pitched yourself well. Because we're rounding up.
Yes. I want us to.
Yeah, so we're going to quickly talk about the factors that we can't change, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Do you want to go or do you want to go?
I can just very briefly speak about factors that you can, especially when it comes to jobs. I'm sure that some of them apply to academics as well. Sometimes there's literally no space in the organization that you're trying to apply to. Sometimes is that there's no funding in that department to take another research person. Sometimes is that they can't train you, and sometimes the position is just already taken. So those are some of the factors that you can't change. But there are things that you can do to soften that rejection, or soften to land on a sofa floor. Let's put it that way. There are things that you can do, and one of the things is you keep on putting out your work. Put out your work on social media, on Twitter, post about what you're doing, post about skills that you're doing. There's somebody here actually that does that on Twitter, and he's a member of Seyi Bio. Put out today I learned about so. Tomorrow, put out, I read this article about this and that. Share what you're learning. Share what the skills that you're learning. Share what you want to learn in the future. These are ways that people will just stumble upon you. And this is how positions become open. Like, you must have heard of them creating a job where there is no job. They will just identify a need for you and be like, oh, this person does this and this. I think I want to start this in my department. You can literally be the person who starts all these things.
Example, I have a friend, we're working together. She's due for her promotion. Her name is Jen. She's due for her promotion. Something happened. She didn't quickly submit her promotion, her promotion package in such a way that it's closed. So they now said that, well, we cannot automatically promote you, that you kind of have to now apply for the job if you want to get the promotion. So my boss now decided that, okay, because by law, if you want to employ somebody to a new role, you are supposed to post it openly. The HR department is supposed to advertise it. So they opened up a new role and they put her name. And they put, we're looking for this, we're looking for that, person must be this, person must be that. But it was the job already belonged to Jen. So somebody out there, you who have a fantastic application, can then go, you will see that it has been advertised. You will think that you can apply for it, but the job is not for you. It was for someone else. They literally put it there because they're required by law to do it. It has happened to 2 people that I know that have been in connection with. It happened to my undergrad who I trained, because there's a gap year, there's a gap month. I think a 3-month gap between undergrad and graduate school. So you graduate in like April, May, and graduate school doesn't start in August. And my undergraduate wanted something to be able to work, which is an international student. So my advisor said, okay, you know what, we'll advertise a role for a technician. They had to advertise it by law. She had to apply for the position, even though, quote unquote, she was the person that they opened it for. Someone else could have seen that, applied to it, thinking that it's for them, but it's not for them. So these are factors that you can't control, like Seyi said. It's not for you. Like literally, the spot wasn't open for you. There's no funding. Oh my God, let me talk about this one really briefly. There's this program, and I wrote about it on my Seyi Bio, called REU, Research Experience for Undergraduates. Literally, it's like a 5-year program. By the end or so, they give them like $1 million, arbitrary amount. So maybe they had spent the money between the first 4 years, and all that is remaining is like $50,000. So you can imagine that in the first year of the program running, they could take as many people as they could, because maybe they invested $200,000, right? So they could take 10 people. Second year, they took 10 people. Third year, they took 10 people. In the 5th year, because they have only 50,000 left, they can only take 2 people. So they won't say it there that they don't have funding. That's why it's also important for you. This is also part of understanding the application process. They won't say it there that we only have money for 2. You won't know. You will just apply and you would think that you have a bad application, but you don't have a bad application. It just is a bad time. Do you understand? So there are just some things that don't work. There's another thing also about understanding the process is sometimes you are too qualified for the position. There's that one too. Seyi, please let me know if I'm lying or not. You are too qualified for the position.
Absolutely right.
Yes, there's a particular, this same REU as well. It is designed for undergraduates who have gone to universities that they cannot do research, so that during the summer they can go to universities or government labs where they can actually get to do research. So if you are coming from the University of Connecticut, where you have been working with an advisor, you were able to publish one paper, but you just want research experience in the summer to build up, and you are applying to such a program, it's not going to work because you are too qualified. They're not looking for you. They're looking for people that actually don't have anything on their CV. It happened with my students. That's why we're telling you these things now. And I'm also saying this to let you know that there are opportunities for you. That all these things are saying about skill, this, that, you don't have any skill. There are opportunities for people that don't have skills in the biological sciences. Africa Comps is one of them. Am I lying? So that's literally my spiel about what you can and what you cannot control. Seyi, do you want to tie this to a close?
I think you've pretty much said it all. There are many things that you can't control, and while those things are happening, you can just keep on building on yourself, such that if there are opportunities that come, you'll be prepared for them. In a case like what Yetunde said about the probably university being obligated to put out the application to the advert for the position online, and even though the position is already for somebody else, if you put in a stellar application, guess who they are going to consider next time before considering other people? It will be you. So you cannot afford to just shabbily hand in any application and things like that. So the same way in the workspace, sometimes there's no space in the organization you are looking to apply to. Sometimes they don't have enough funding. Sometimes it's that they don't want to train anybody. And in that case, we've already discussed how you can address that. We've said you can train yourself such that you will not require training, and then they'll be able to pick you. Sometimes it's also that the position is already taken. So train yourself, attend conferences where you will learn skills for free, ask for scholarships in workshops and what other people are doing, and then put up all your work on Twitter, LinkedIn especially. It's where recruiters will first see your skills. Even that's what's going to draw them to your profile, which will draw them to your CV, and so on and so forth. So I believe that we've said a lot of things today that helps you to approach and maneuver and make the most of any application rejections. We've talked about the factors that we can change and the factors that we can't change, and we've seen how to address both of them. And I hope that going forward, we're going to take all these things that we have learned today, and then we're going to spin it, and then, next time you know exactly what to do, and you don't feel bad about your rejections, but you see all the ways that you can make you a better person.
Yep. Thank you very much. We can now start taking your questions. Please let us know if this session has been helpful to you. I have so many other examples, even as Seyi was talking, but I'm not going to even dwell on them at all. I want you to please share your questions. If you put them up in the chat, I probably was not looking. Feel free to copy it and paste it again. I don't know where Seyi disappeared, so she has left me on this hot seat. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. If you are new to Stay in Bio, you can join us in our cool team. I should post the link. I'm going to post the Linktree link of how you can join us. Let's see. Hafizu, please put your question in the chat. I'll be more than happy to take it. Faith, can you please get the Linktree link and put it on the chat for people who want to join our mailing list? Because some of these things that we've said, our audience already know about it. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm glad that you learned a lot. I'm glad that this was not a waste of your time. You probably do. Peace. Bello Motosho says, thanks for the enlightenment. You advise us to start applying to graduate school as early as in our undergraduate days. How do we do that without transcripts and certificates and most of the necessary requirements? Again, this is you understanding the process. There are some schools that you apply to. Again, I did start when I was in 200 level. That's not what I said. When I was in 400 level, my second semester, when I was graduating, was when I started. So immediately I graduated at 400 level, I carved out 3 months of my life. I went to get a GRE tutor who tutored me for 3 months. After the 3 months, I wrote my GRE exam because those 3 months I was waiting. I think I graduated in May or something. And I was starting my NYC in November. So those 3 months, instead of me just staying at home, now you don't need a tutor because everything is on YouTube. There's data, there's this, there's that. So you can literally do it by yourself. So that's what I did in those 3 months, literally. I was just reading for my GRE. And after the 3 months, I wrote the exam. So this was still in 2013. In 2014 was when I now started throwing out my application. So by that time, I had already gotten everything that I needed. But that being said, sometimes you don't need to have your transcript even. There are many schools that when you finally apply and when you get the admission is when they will say that you should submit your official transcript or something like that. So you can get away with it. You can definitely get away with it. You're welcome, Oluwapelumi. I hope that answered your question, Bello Motosho. Christian, you're welcome. Davis, thank you. Ogumbi Oluwa, I can't see the name in full, but thank you. So insightful. Any other questions? Am I missing something? You're welcome, Christopher. Okay, I already answered your question, Bello. Awesome session. Thank you. I already made this mistake. I'm almost done with my NYC, and I made almost no preparations for my grad school application. Is it too late for me? It depends. Where do you want to go to grad school? I feel like we have to. That question of is it too late for me is relative. Is relative to your story. I'm never going to tell anybody that it's too late for them because I'm not God, right? And I know that a lot of things, and this is not a religious platform, but a lot of times that plays a big role as well. So I'm never ever going to tell you that it's too late. But if you want me to be able to answer your question better, I kind of need context. What do you mean you're almost done with your NYC and you've made no preparations? Do you have skills? Do you have volunteering? If you're in Lagos, why don't you even just start by going to NIMA? Just go to NIMA and talk to people. You might need somebody there. Send us an email on Stay in Bio, and there are just sometimes spur of the moment decisions where Seyi and I were like, okay, let's help 10 people. We only have the capacity to help 10 people to be able to do their grad school application. So it might not be too late for you. It's never too late for anybody. There's so much that you can do. Thank you, Faith, for putting the link to the link tree. Please, I've switched to public health. I've already switched to public health parasitology, though I have a bachelor's in biochemistry. I did the switch because I couldn't find jobs or research labs where I think this is Irene. You're welcome. Emeka says, Daniel mentioned a site for ongoing research projects. Please help share the link and similar resources for those of us that want to reach out to well-funded labs, okay? For those of us that have genuine interest in certain research but are having trouble getting info or finding mentors, I'll definitely do that. I will ask Daniel and I will ask Christopher for links to all those things that helped them, and then send it in the email to see if those make any differences for you. Emeka, I just want you to know that, look, keep going. I know your name because you're always joining all these things. So write to us, especially if we know your names. It will help us to be able to know how we can help you with their tips. And I hope that you read those emails that we sent to you because a lot of times they are very, very, very helpful. When are we supposed to forward our application materials for review? Look at this Hafiz. He's putting me on this spot. Did I say I'm helping people with applications? You are very funny. Did you see the question? He's asking when he's supposed to put out application materials for review for the Stay in Bio 2023 application process. If you guys want us to help, put it in the chat. Let's know. It's something that we can consider. It's something that I love to do. I've always been doing this since I was in graduate school. I've been sharing stories as well, even before I started Stay in Bio, of how I used to help people. And that's the same thing with Seyi. It's like, we're not after, we just want to help people. We know that success is possible. I am deriving a lot of pleasure with what I'm doing. I am having a fantastic time. You know, we would love. So Yetunde says she wants. Her name is not Yetunde. For some reason, it's showing that her name is my name, but she has a very pretty profile. She said, "Thank you for agreeing to." I have not agreed though. It depends on quorum. Have you heard of quorum sensing in biology? If you've not heard it before in microbiology, go and read what quorum sensing is. I need a quorum of people that will tell me, yes, they want to help for 2023 applications. You can ask the people that were there the last time. It was very rigorous. Of all the people that helped, we were only able to truly help 5. So that's another problem with some of you, is that you're not really ready. Where we can start from is I can actually tell you to go and watch that video. It's on that Linktree list of application checklist if you want to go to grad school in America. There's so many other places you can go as well, because that's another thing we didn't also talk about, is about not throwing your eggs in one basket. That's why we did that session last year, where we said, okay, it's not only America, it's not only Canada, there are other places where you can actually do good research. In fact, I've been scouting for opportunities. I've been seeing particular PhD positions for people specifically who are from Africa, specifically from Nigeria. So that's why I keep saying that there are opportunities for you. Don't even limit yourself to Nigeria. That's another thing that people always do. Yes, don't limit yourself to Nigeria, that because in Nigeria there's no jobs. So moving on. Because of you, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation mostly do things for developing countries. So you need to be able to expand your mind to understand that you are a global representative of the world. If you cannot get what you need in Nigeria, I'm not saying jackpot, that's not what I said. Remember, there's a difference between you building yourself for the future and you actually jackpotting. So expand your processes. Look at that person that just said all he did was that he wanted to join lab meetings. Today, he's a co-author on the paper. Just because if it was Christopher that had bioinformatics experience, he would have probably even gotten, like, maybe what you have, the skill you have is the missing piece of the puzzle. There's some people that know proteomics very well, and that's the missing link in maybe my own research. And if you join my research, you read my papers, you read it, keeping abreast. If, for instance, you go to those lab meetings now, if you decide to take that on, and then you start reading about that research, maybe out of 10 people in the lab, you like one of them, start reading about the research, forward your paper to the professor that, professor, this paper just came out. What do you think if you can do, apply this question to this particular project? The professor will tell you whether it's feasible or not, and that's how you can keep the communication going. So there's so many things. Adeju, I see that you've raised up your hand. Please put your question in the chat. I'm going to see if Seyi.
Oh, so the more.
Seyi, where did you go?
Oh, can I speak more?
Can you put your question in the chat?
Oh, okay.
Please. Okay, so I'm trying to read Abdul Salam's questions. I'm an undergrad in 300 level biochemistry, but I'm also into digital marketing. Is there a way I could marry these two, or at what point do I drop the skill for my biosciences career? I like that question. So I actually wrote it down as one of the things that I'll talk about, but I never did talk about it. You don't have to forfeit one for the other. It's dynamic the way Christopher did it, that he didn't forfeit his plumbing experience for his biosciences degree. You don't have to forfeit your digital marketing skills.
Sorry, Yetunde.
Yes.
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead, I've been looking for you.
Let the scientists in you marry the two. No skill is lost. right? I can tell you that there's a position for digital marketing in biochemistry and vice versa. There is definitely the link that we are looking for. You can be the one to find it, but you don't need to drop one for the other. You can do digital marketing for a bioscience company, and you see that you thrive in both of them, because to do it, you will need to have knowledge of the bioscience industry. And that way you can keep on upping your skills in biochemistry. And then you can now do digital marketing. I'm going to give you an example. Sales and biochemistry. I did that. Okay. I worked for a genomics company as a sales manager. So imagine that I love to sell things or do business development. I did that in that field. I was able to marry it together because I had to keep myself updated with what is happening in the industry, in research, so that when I want to sell a researcher, a PhD student, a kind of master mix that can do, you don't need to make a PCR cocktail. It has all the components of a PCR cocktail in one. I could sell it to him because I know about it and I've seen it work. So that's an example of marrying the two, and you can do that.
Oh, this Abdulsalam has asked a very interesting question. So maybe you can add to this as well. He said, for the corporate career, how do we get firms to volunteer with, not necessarily research? So he doesn't want to do research. He just wants to be, there's some admin. There's also that too. There's you not working in a research lab, administrative position, even as a bioscientist. Because
that's a fantastic question.
Yeah. So he said,
it's pretty easy. Identify the company, right? And write to them. Tell them you want to do an internship there. You are a biochemist or you are a biologist and you have interest in administration, like management or whatever. And write to them and say, I would like to intern with you for so amount of time. I'm telling you, it's very simple. The problem is that, first of all, you have not identified the company that you like. You have not seen what you can say you like about them. That's number one. Number two, you have not been able to write to them. So find the company, then write to them. I'm sure that you have not tried this before. If you have, let me know. If you tried it and it didn't work, let me know. I'm going to teach you how to write to a company and get an internship there for an administrative role.
Okay, if you don't get that email, go and watch it on LinkedIn. You want. So we're definitely going to be sending all of this information to you. Please, Faith, I hope you are taking notes. Please, you guys, give it up for Faith. She's always the one in the background, helping out a lot of times, so that we actually keep this going, because sometimes life gets so busy. So please encourage Faith, encourage her, please. When we started Staying Bio, Faith was the person that reached out to us on Instagram saying that she wanted to volunteer. So please give Faith a big clap. So yes, Abdulsalam, I hope that we've been able to answer your question. You don't have to give up one for the other. You can find a way to marry. Davis, thank God I remember Davis. Davis is a very good example. Davis is in 300 level now. He was selected as one of the top 10 bioinformatics influencer on Twitter. Do you know what that means? So he's a digital person, but he's not just using his data for anything. He's a 300 level in Unilag, and they said that he was one of the top 10 in the world of Twitter users that posts a lot about bioinformatics. Recruiters are crawling on LinkedIn. There are many professors that are crawling on LinkedIn. This is something he can put on his CV. There are so many things that you can do to marry both skills. You can find a way to make your digital marketing work within the biosciences space. It can work. And I was when he sent me that message on Instagram, I was so proud, because I'm like, do you know what this means for you? Do you know that if somebody, if you have that tag or anything, there are so many professors that are tech savvy that they just love the fact that you are doing this. They reach out to you and they're like, look, or one day he'll post it, because now he's one of the 10 influencers, and he says he has tweeted enough. He's now looking for a position to hire him. Does anybody want him? then you will, I'm very sure that one day we'll talk about it. I'm very hopeful. So I'm going to go to, I don't know this person whose name is Yetunde, but I'm thinking that I don't know if it has something to do with the link.
She joined with your link, probably.
Yeah, she joined with my personal link. So she says she's a pharmacist and she has interest in pharmaceutical sciences. She has experiences in research, which informs her decision to pursue a PhD. She applied to schools last year. I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm applying again this year. I look forward to your help. Yes, send us an email. It definitely seems like you might sound like, from what I've read, like a good candidate. So send us an email, or we'll send an email sometime later when we make that decision on how to help, how many people to help, but definitely send that email. Obinemechi Dera says, you advised us to improve our skills and develop ourselves. Please, what are some ways to develop our skills in the biosciences? And what are some sites to improve our skills? I feel like we already addressed this, but Seyi, do you want to highlight again?
I'm sorry, Yetunde, I didn't hear what you said.
So Chidera is asking that we've told them now that they should go and improve on their skills and develop themselves.
Yeah.
She's saying that what are some of the ways that she can go about it to develop her skills in the biosciences, and where are some places that she can do that?
Thank you. So that is one of the reasons Stay in Bio is here. We always put out all these opportunities for learning. For example, FIRO holds a molecular techniques workshop every year. NIMA does something similar. They just focus on different things. Sometimes it's pathology, sometimes it's just another area. Inkaba Biotech does bioinformatics, does sequencing, does molecular techniques trainings. So we keep sending these opportunities to people who have registered on Stay in Bio. So we will keep emailing them to you. Then it's up to you to now make the move to reach out to them. If you are unable to, for example, maybe you are in school and then you are unable to attend any workshop physically, listen, there are learning platforms like Udemy, like Coursera, that you can learn soft skills. So you can learn different, I talked about emotional intelligence a few minutes ago. You can learn that. You can also learn a bit more about theory on PCR, and other techniques that you are interested in. The beauty of that is this. I know that you say you're already learning that in school, but one thing I've observed is that you learn differently from the mouth of different people. So when one person can teach you PCR today, and then another person will teach you PCR tomorrow, and the way you will get it, in fact, you can get it more from one person than the other, or gaps that you identified in the first person's teaching methods that you couldn't grasp, you will grasp it in the other person's own. So you can do workshops, you can attend workshops, or you can attend, you can pick up courses on Udemy, Coursera, and the likes. There are also some online courses. I know there's this H3AN Bionet that does bioinformatics introduction every year, and all you need is your computer to do it. So there are other courses like that. There are many opportunities that come that way multiple times in a year that you can take advantage of.
All right, thank you. We'll also see if we can send that to you by email as well, but I hope you were able to take some notes. I'm going to try and take a stab at Abdul Salam's question. And I'm going to say this because I've already sent an email before about this. If you're staying by, maybe you've read this email and you know what I'm talking about. He's going back to the question of the fact that he doesn't want to do research, but he wants to work in industry. How should we go about it? Let me tell you something. A lot of times, you will not be able to separate it. Your way into industry is your ability to do research. I sent a very, very lengthy email about it. Send me an email. I'm asking you to send me an email. If you send me an email, I'll forward you those emails because you may not be on Stay in Bio's mailing list. Regardless of what you want to end up, if you want to do academia, if you want to do research, if you want to do applied science, if you want to do industry research, a lot of times your way into it is having some component of research, because your ability to get into industry is building those skills. The same thing with Seyi. Seyi today was not able to work with Inkaba, was not able to work with all those huge companies that she has been able to work with if she didn't start at IITA. Daniel would not have been able to work at 54 Gene if he didn't do volunteering with virology positions. So please get it straight. You will not be able to pursue 90% of the time, except you want to just be HR or normal admin in a biotech company. If that's not what you want, and you want to skill up and actually grow administratively as an industry person in the field of biosciences, you need that research component. You cannot separate the two. I will definitely send you that email as well. Adewunmi has already posted Davis's handle on the chat for whoever is asking. Adewunmi, you said you had a question. I didn't see you put it in the chat.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good day, Ma. Thank you very much for today's section. I feel like it's actually targeted for me. So, Ma, you emphasized on the importance of constructive feedbacks, knowing why one got rejected. So the thing is, lately I've been applying for internships, to mostly international internships, and unfortunately I've been getting a lot of rejections. But the problem is, most of all these internships, they will tell you that they do not give feedbacks or tell you why your application could not be processed to the next stage. So I would like to know, is there anything one can do about that? And also to, because definitely there's something I'm doing wrong, but I feel like if I do not know exactly what I'm doing wrong, then I feel like I might not be able to prepare effectively for the next one. So is there any approach one can take, to get this constructive feedback, especially when they emphasize on not sending one?
Okay, so I feel your pain and I completely understand you, where in the sense that sometimes, like what Seyi said about reaching out to people, it worked for me as well when it came to graduate school, because after I had suffered 7 rejections, and then the last school that rejected me, I sent an email. I said, Ma, but we were having a great conversation. Why did I get a rejection? And then she told me what she thought I was doing wrong, and I was able to move forward. But in your case, especially if it's a very computerized system, you actually may not be able to get.
Let me answer that question.
But wait,
because I know
one thing that I know, in addition, that can. Okay, go ahead, Seyi. Go ahead. Then maybe
I said one thing. So let me tell you that question made me smile because I know exactly why. So tell me, did you fulfill all the requirements for the eligibility? I mean, from the eligibility requirements that they listed? That's number one.
Okay. So for the first one, first one was actually
listening.
This Shanghai prize at the Welcome Institute of Sangha. So I was able to get to the next stage. I actually followed instructions because I'm always particular about instructions. But the second stage, I didn't. That was the final stage. I didn't get in, and till now, I still.
Sometimes
I'm always pushing to myself. But I'm guessing maybe it might be my writing skills because I was expected to write.
So I remember this application. I remember we talked about. There are certain. So I'm going to talk about it because it's the application that you're talking about. There are certain things I saw you did right and I saw you did wrong. One, you consulted. When they had already selected you, you actually sent me an email and we set up a time to talk. And you said that you wanted ideas that could. Yes, he did. I was very, very impressed. So again, I think there are two things that probably played a factor into what happened to you. One is factors you could control and factors you couldn't control. So you got back to me, we consulted, we talked about it, but I didn't hear anything from you again. And I remember that I told you that I wasn't at home and that I wanted to send you some papers to be able to help you, but you didn't follow up with me. You didn't do anything. By the time I got back home, everything was already. This is the next time I'm hearing about it that you didn't actually get selected for that position. So that's number one. Is do more consulting apart from Dr. Ye. Do you have professors that can actually help you come up with those ideas? Because that Sangha Institute thing is huge. So are there other professors that you can collaborate with to say, oh, look, this is what I'm thinking about. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And then after they have shared their ideas with you, when you actually write it, you didn't send it to anybody to take another look at it. Maybe you did, I don't know. But as far as the fact that you consulted with me, you didn't send it back to me. So I don't know what happened. Another thing that I could see happening there, factors that you couldn't control. They said it was only for how many people? 10 people. And you made it through. But you also have to know. And I think after that, they said they're only selecting how many? One. I can't remember.
Just one, yeah. Out of those people that go to the second stage, they only pick one person.
They only pick one person. So it might have been what happened to you was nothing. Maybe it was your talk, your application was fantastic, but it was not just as good as someone else's. And what do you do in that situation? Is if you really want it, you have to try again another year. So those are the two things that I can think off the top of my head that would have helped you. If you didn't get a lot of consultation, a lot of people to read it, maybe people who are research-based, who can help you take away the technical jargon, or people who are not even research-based, who are saying, look, this is too technical for me to understand, like you've lost me in the process. So you need, for that kind of thing, you need a lot of people to be able to help you with your application process, to review it, to look at it. And then when all is said and done, if you don't get selected, that welcome thing is very competitive. The third thing that I would say can help you is to go and look for people who have gotten selected. They should be somewhere in there. They like showcasing things like that. Reach out to them. Tell them that you want to read their essay, that you've tried twice. What did they do? What did you do? These are ways that if you cannot get feedback directly from the agency, you can get feedback from the people who have been successful in the past. Those could be your connectors to help you and say, look, this isn't going to work. Maybe they too have suffered several rejections in the past and they finally got through and they know what broke it for them. And when they read it from you, they're able to know. So I hope these three things have helped. I don't know if Seyi wanted to add something else besides LG, besides what we're talking about. Well, I can't find Seyi again. I think she dropped off. Juwon, did I help you?
Oh, yes, ma, a lot, ma. So I'll make these changes. I would reach out, and there's one I'm working on currently. So I think the problem is I do not do much consultation.
Yeah,
so
you need to work for things that are very competitive, like that. You can't rely on yourself. You heard the Daniel when he spoke. He said that when I looked at his letter, and this is not me, I'm not trying to praise myself. I'm just trying to say that there is importance in having another eye to look at what you are reading. He said that he was so good in English, he could not believe the feedback that he got. Because there's only so much you can know. There are experiences that other people have that can enriching what you are working on. So apply those three things. You cannot get feedback directly from the agency. Look for people that have been successful. There's somewhere that they have showcased them in the past. Google it, do deep Google search. Talk to them. They most likely will respond to you using all the things that we've taught you today. Is there any other question? I don't know if she is still here. Any other questions? I hope this has been helpful to you. If this has been, oh my God, we spent 2 hours, 30 minutes, but I think it has been an absolutely good time. You know, I think we did well. I think you must have derived value. If you derive value, go and make noise on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. Just tell us that you had fun, you learned a lot. Don't forget, your assignment today is to go and write people who can serve as potential connectors for you. I've also shared one example just now of another person that can be a connector. It's someone who has scaled through the process, who has gone through, for example, that welcome trust application system, and they can serve as your connector, maybe not directly, but they can advise you. You need advisory. So write down the people that are in your life, write down what you want to do, figure out who can be your connector. That's the most beautiful way that you can cut short of this very gruesome breakfast process in the biosciences. Please join our mailing list if you want to be one of us. we'll have another webinar session probably next month. We'll let you know. Do well to sign up if you know that this has been insightful for you. Thank you so much for your time. If you do not have any more questions, time to go. Well done for trusting us with 2 hours and 30 minutes of your time. Thank you so much. We don't take it for granted, and we're so grateful that you decided to invest in yourself this way. Well done. Thanks a lot. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you so much. This is always what's happening. People don't want to go again. Abdul Salam, send me an email. I want you to read that email with your 2 eyes again. That you can't just jump into industry without research. I don't remember the context with which I put it, but it's there, and I will send it to you. Abisola said that we are her connectors. Yes. All right, you're very, very welcome. We're happy. Please, if you know people that can benefit from this, and sometime maybe later next week, I'll post it on YouTube and I'll send out the link. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. This is the problem we have. You who don't want to go, go. It's time to go. Go, actually leave the chat. You're welcome.